Alright students, we're going to continue with some dividing, and we're going to start by dividing whole numbers. Alright, when we divide whole numbers, we look at our divisor out here, and we look at our number underneath the sign, and we cannot divide 13 into 1. If we cover up digits, we cannot divide 13 into 1. So I scoop my finger over, and can I divide 13 into 17? Well, sure I can. How many times would it go? Well, it will only go one time. And I'm going to put that 1 directly over the last digit of what I was talking about, the 17. And then I say 1 times 13 is 13, and I write it underneath the 17, and I draw a line and I subtract. 3 from 7 is 4. 1 from 1 is nothing. I don't write anything down, but I bring down the next digit, which is a 2. Okay? Now then, I start all over again with this process. I need to know how many times 13 will go into 42. And I believe it's 3, because 3 times 13 is 39, and 39 is real close to 42. So if I've decided on the number 3, I put my 3 up there, and I say 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 times 1 is 3. Draw a line and subtract. Well, 42 minus 39 is 3. And I bring down the next and last digit, which is a 32. Now, I know it won't go 3 times, because 3 times 13 was 39, but it will go 2 times. And 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 times 1 is 2, so that's 26. So what is 32 minus 26? Well, it's 6, so I have a remainder. Now, notice your directions. This is problem number 1 on dividing. It says divide and record remainders. So it goes 132 times with a remainder of 6. And there's your answer to that. And that's how you're going to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So get that down on paper. And if I were you, I would be doing all these problems on lined paper, because there's not enough room on this worksheet. So when you're finished with your work, you staple your lined paper on top of the worksheet for your teacher to grade. Okay? All right. All right, let's go on to number 3. And of course you would be putting all these in order on your paper, and mine won't be, but I'm going to put number 3 right here. And number 5. That's a 5. Number 5 is 34 divided by 10. Well, of course you can't divide 10 into 3, but you can divide it into 34. So it will go 3 times. So 3 times 10 is 30. And you subtract and you have a 4. Okay, on this problem, 5, 6, 7, and 8, it tells us to divide, but write the remainders as decimals. So we have to keep going. Okay, so believe it or not, there is a decimal in the number 34. The decimal is behind the 34, and I can put some zeros after that, as many as I want to. So that means I can bring down a 0 and keep going. So then that decimal has got to be written right behind that 3, because that's where I started adding on the zeros. Then 10 will go into 40 4 times, so your answer should be 3 4/10. And there's your answer in decimal form. It would be 3 with a remainder of 4, or it's 3 4/10. Let's go back and let's put your answer in fraction form on these. Go back up and look at number 1. Your answer could be 132 6/13. Here's your remainder of 6 and your divisor of 13. Here's a correct answer, and here's a correct answer. Look at number 5. Fraction form. This is 3 and 4/10, but 4/10 can be reduced to 2/5. So this is 3 and 2/5 because I can reduce 4 by 2 and 10 by 2 down to 3 and 2/5. So they could have asked me to leave it like that, and I can do that also. Okay, now we're going to get to, you're supposed to already know this. This should be old stuff, but we're going to keep working on it. And now we're going to go to new stuff where we're going to divide some decimals. So we're going to go down to number 13. It says divide and annex zeros if needed to write remainders as decimals. Annex means to put them in there like I did back on number 5. Okay, so we have 188 and 4/10, and we're going to divide that by 60. You know something we should have done at the very beginning, and we'll do it now, is use the correct words. This number underneath here is called the dividend. This is the divisor, and when we get an answer up here like 3 and 4/10, that's called the quotient. So we have a dividend, divisor, quotient. Okay, so our dividend is in decimal form. Our quotient, our divisor is not. So when the divisor is a whole number, we don't have to change anything. We just start dividing. And I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. Okay, so once again, I'm going to start covering up numbers. 60 won't go into 1, 60 won't go into 18, but 60 will go into 188. Well, 3 times 6 is 18, so I know it will go at least 3 times. So the 3 is going to go over the last digit of the 188. So 3 times 0 is 0, and 3 times 6 is 18. Draw a line, subtract. Subtract the part that you were working on. So 180 from 188 leaves 8. Now I'm going to bring down my next digit, which is a 4. And I'm going to take this decimal and put it right behind that 3 because I got to the decimal and now I'm working after the decimal. Okay, 60 will go into 84 only one time. 1 times 60 is 60. 0 from 4 is 4. And 6 from 8 is 2. Now I'm going to put a 0 on there, and I'm going to bring that 0 down. What do you think we're going to do now? How many times do you think it will go? Well, if you think back to your multiplication tables, what times 6 gives you 24? And the answer is 4. So 4 times 0 is 0, and 4 times 6 is 24. Draw the line, you have 0 remainder, so here is your decimal answer. Now, notice that we're not dividing by decimals today. We are dividing by whole numbers in each one of these. And our decimal in our answer just goes wherever the decimal is in the dividend. Straight up from there. Okay? All right, let's go do a number like number 18. Let's put number 18 right here. Number 18 says, Dana said that 6/10 divided by 30 was equal to 0.02. I'm going to write that over there because that's what they're saying the answer is. And then they ask the question, is that correct? And then explain. Well, how are you going to know if it's correct if you don't go do it? You won't. So we're going to go do it. So we have 6/10 divided by 30. Well, 30 won't go into 6/10. And just don't worry about the decimal for the moment. Let's put some zeros on here. So that decimal is going to go right there. So will 30 go into 6? No, it won't. So that when it says no, it won't, that's a 0. Now, will 30 go into 60? Yes, it will. 2 times. And so 2 times 30 is 60. So 0 remainder. So yes, it's correct. Now explain that. Think about what we just did and explain it. All right, knowing me, I would probably think about this decimal 60 being like 60 cents. If I had 60 cents in my pocket and I had to divide it up 30 different people, how much would each person get? So I know it's going to be little bitty number. So each person would get 2 cents. 0.02 is 2 hundredths, and 2 hundredths is 2 cents. Okay? And that's how I would explain it. And you could explain it any way you want to. Okay, turn your paper over and let's go to problem number 25, one of the harder ones. Number 25. And you might have enough room in these boxes to work, I don't know. Hopefully. So we're going to take 7 and 7/10, like $7.70. You do realize it's the same thing like $7.70. We're going to divide it up 700 ways. Wow. So I know the answer is going to be little. Will 7 go into 7? 700 go into 7? No. Will it go into 77? No. Will it go into 770? Yes, it will one time. So we said no, it won't go there, but it will go there. And so 1 times 700 is 700. And we subtract. And when it's a 0, we don't write it down when it's the leading 0. And then we bring down the next digit. Well, 700 going to 700 one time. So that's 700 with a remainder of 0. Okay, so our answer is tenths, hundredths, thousand is 11 thousandths. Okay, now how did we take a number like 7.7, divide it by 700, and know where that decimal was going to go? What are we dividing by? Which is hundredths. So it's when we divide by 100, I'm going to take that decimal and go to the left 2 places. So I know it's going to be 2 places to the left. And so I'm not sure how to say what I'm thinking. How many decimal places will the quotient have? The quotient will have 3 decimal places. Use place value reasoning to explain how you know that. Well, tenths divided by hundreds is going to move it 2 places. So tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So it's going to be in the thousandths position because of that moving it 2 places right there. Okay, here's what I want you to do. On each one of these problems, I want you to make sure that you read the instructions that comes before the block of problems. Read the instructions, leave the answers the way it's asking you to. And notice that about every 4 problems it changes. Then when you get to these, they're standalone problems. So when you get to these kind, you read it, you make sense of it, and you try something. You read it, you make sense of it, and you try something. And there's different ways to work some of these. On the back side, the same thing. Okay? And down here at the bottom, notice that there's an assessment practice. Assessment just means test. So, this is practice for upcoming tests. So what's the value of the expression 1408 divided by 27? So you're going to actually have to do it and then choose the right answer and circle it. Fill in the circle, the bubble in front of it. Same thing over here. So there's a little practice there. So you're going to do front and back of this sheet and have it ready for your teacher when he or she asks for it. Okay, some review on division, and then upcoming shortly is division of decimals when your divisor has decimals in it. Okay, so another good day. Work on your homework, ask your classroom teacher to help you, and I will see you next time. Bye.